Hi, today we're talking about healing frequencies and asking, are they a myth or are they some sort of magical sorcery? Hi, my name's Craig from the Sound Therapy Company, and today we're talking about healing frequencies. There's lots of information out there on healing frequencies, so I'm not going to add to all that information. This video is an explanation of my thoughts and my approach to sound healing, and hopefully you might take something from that. So we're asking the question, healing frequencies, what are they? Are they some magical sorcery or are they a bit of a myth? And my belief, as with many things in life, is that the truth is somewhere in the middle of all that. So to give some context to the video, there's lots of information out there about different frequencies and the characteristics of those frequencies and the healing responses you might expect from those frequencies. I'm going to talk a bit about my approach and my mindset when it comes to facilitating a sound healing session. Okay, so the simplest form of sound healing is to take people into a state of deep relaxation. And when we talk about simplicity, we don't necessarily mean less effective. Sometimes the less we do, the more effective a session can be. So when I'm talking about simplicity, I'm talking about the concepts and the approach to the sound healing process. So one of the most healing things we can do for our bodies is to reach a state of deep rest. So deep relaxation, and that allows all the tension to be released from the body. It allows our body to come to rest. It releases the tension. It allows energy to flow throughout our bodies, throughout our system. When we're tense, when we're anxious, we create lots of resistance and blockages in the body. Just really being able to let go and it's beneficial for the body in lots of different ways. Balance our brain. It helps to balance the nervous system, blood flows to our internal organs, and it allows all our internal organs and systems to start to work more efficiently. You know, when we're active, our mind, our body takes a lot of energy, and when we're in deep relaxation, that energy can be used for repair, regeneration. So in its simplest form, deep relaxation is really beneficial for us. With sound, what we're doing is we're using sound as a mechanism to help take the body to this place of deep relaxation. So throughout the day we go through different brainwave states. When we're active and going about our day, we've got lots of activity in the brain. One of the signals for our bodies to go into relaxation is when our brainwaves start to slow down. One of the simplest ways of doing this is to play long, smooth, continuous sounds. Our brainwaves start to synchronize with those tones, with those sounds, with the frequencies. Your brainwaves start to slow down. When that happens, the heart rate, the breathing slows down, and we go into this natural relaxation response. So it is something the body does naturally, and we're using sound as a tool to help achieve that state. Besides long continuous sounds, there are other ways, repetitive rhythms, so using a drum or using mantra or hand pans or other types of instruments. We can create repetitive rhythms. It helps to entrain the brain waves and bring us down into the relaxation response. Technical term, the parasympathetic nervous response. So the majority of my sessions I call gong relaxation experiences, because that's what the majority of us need, is just this state of deep relaxation. As I said earlier, there's many benefits to achieving that state. So many of the instruments used in sound healing sessions are acoustic instruments that are created to have long sustain, so they produce these long tones. And there's something about the whole experience of being in a sound bath or in a sound treatment, in that we are immersed in the vibrations of these instruments. So we're in the same room as the instruments, we're creating this ambience, this environment, this soundscape with acoustic instruments, and really lovely for the body to receive the physical vibrations of the sound. When we're looking at sound healing, there's three main ways that the sound will work and affect our system. So one is the mind that we've talked about. We've talked about how it helps to lower our brainwave state. The second one is the physical vibrations. So the body receives the energy of the vibrations. Sound is a vibration that moves through the air, and we can feel those energies. And especially if we're using instruments on the body, then those vibrations get deep into the body, into the muscle tissue, into the skeletal system, and the body is actually receiving a massage from these vibrations. So we've got how it affects our brainwaves, we've got the physical vibrations, and then, as I mentioned earlier, when the body goes into deep relaxation, we're releasing tension from the body, we're allowing energy to flow unhindered through the body. So this is our life force energy and our healing energy, and those are the three main benefits of a sound healing session. So it's really wonderful to be immersed, and that's why we call these sessions sound baths, because we're immersed in sound. Some people talk about being cocooned in the sound. It's this really lovely, comforting feel of being in a sound bath. So that is one approach to sound healing. Another approach is to start to use healing frequencies to have a more specific outcome. So for me, this is bringing a bit more complexity into the equation. So the acoustic instruments that we talked about earlier, such as singing bowls or the gong, when the manufacturer don't always have a specific frequency, they will have what they call a fundamental tone, but they've not necessarily been designed to have that particular tone or frequency. There are certain instruments like tuning forks, solfeggio pipes, which are tuned to very specific frequencies. There's research to show that different frequencies can have an effect on our body. So picking one out as an example, in the solfeggio frequencies, 528 Hz is labelled as the DNA healing or the DNA repair frequency. Personally, there's a few resistances I have to calling a particular frequency DNA repair, but there's some rationale behind that. There has been research done in laboratories, and they've shown that when they expose DNA cells to 528 Hz, they produce more photonic light, and photonic light is part of the energy system of DNA, and so producing more photonic light seemed to imply that the DNA is more healthy or more energized in some way. So I don't remember the exact figures from the research, but I know that the percentage increase in photonic light was in single figures. I think it was around about the 7%. In my early adult life, I was an electrical engineer, so when we get into the real physics and the logic behind that, lots of questions come up for me. If you're going to be looking at very specific frequencies, a machine is better at doing that than a human being. A bioresonance machine or a Rife machine, where we can dial in particular frequencies, attach wires to the body, which then activate certain frequencies within the body. If we're going to start using a more precise methodology, machines are probably better at that than we are. Now, it's not to say that I feel that using tuning forks or solfeggio is not a valid approach. I think it's that thing of playing to our strengths. Also, for me, being hooked up to a machine and having certain frequencies in there feels a bit clinical. That's another resistance, is that it's feeling like it's getting more towards a traditional medical approach. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. And if you've got a specific ailment, somebody has a machine, there's evidence to say that would be beneficial, then I may myself choose to go along and be hooked up to a machine and receive that treatment. But for me personally, in terms of a sound healing session and what I want to offer as a practitioner, that way of working doesn't resonate with me. And I think a lot about being a practitioner is working in a way where we're in alignment and in congruency. Being a sound practitioner is about achieving a certain state of resonance in ourselves. So we're holding space for people, a combination of our resonance in holding the space and then the resonance from the sound creates this wonderful healing environment. So using specific frequencies for me is getting away a little bit from the ethos of a healing session. This idea of having a holistic approach that we're working at the same time on the mind, the body, the emotions, the spiritual connections. Using individual frequencies is really focusing down on one particular point or area. There may be times and reasons for doing that, but for me personally, I prefer to have a more open and holistic approach to a healing session. So the other thing is that when this research is done, that it's normally done in laboratory conditions, and they've got equipment there to monitor and verify what's happening within the body. Again, as a practitioner, I don't have access to that equipment, so there's no way to verify the outcomes. So you can maybe use a particular frequency to achieve a particular outcome, but there's no way to verify that. So if we're looking at using a more structured approach, to me there's a few gaps in that logic. Now, the other way of using a specific frequency is with intention, and intention is a big part of sound healing or energy healing. So we could use the solfeggio frequencies, or there's models for aligning the chakras with different notes, and again there's some variation on those. But we can hold an intention with the clients. When a lot of people hold the same intention, it creates an amplified effect. So we can hold an intention while working with particular frequencies. And again, that's a very valid approach to sound healing. It's a slight adaptation from the first scenario where I was saying we're taking people into deep relaxation. So for me, that's always the first step. Get people deeply relaxed. We can have a more tailored intention or mindset or focus when we're hosting these sessions. And that can be very beneficial. It's similar to doing a meditation. The other thing about using specific frequencies is that we are all unique. Physically, emotionally, our life experiences are different. You know, physically, coming down to our body structures, the density of our bones, everything is slightly different. So I think we will all resonate at slightly different frequencies. So saying that there's one frequency that's universal for everybody, again, I have a little bit of resistance to that. In some of the research, I've seen different frequencies having similar effects. So in one piece of research, I saw 40 hertz was mentioned, and another one I saw 70 hertz was mentioned, and the research showed that they had similar benefits. So this was being deeply soothing to the nervous system, helping to reduce brainwave states, and showing benefits for conditions such as dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, ADHD. The results of two frequencies which were relatively far apart, 40 hertz, 70 hertz, were very similar. So maybe we can make a generalization that low frequencies below 100 hertz are beneficial. Some larger gongs, you can easily get down to the 70, 80 hertz. I've seen gongs down at the 40, 42 hertz. So we can achieve these frequencies with certain types of instruments. But it's not to say that, going back to 528, let's say, it's not saying that 528 is beneficial for DNA, but 530 isn't. There's going to be a spectrum, and within that spectrum, there are going to be beneficial effects to the mind, the body. So to wrap up on the video, as I said at the beginning, my personal belief is, yes, there are frequencies that have been shown to be beneficial to the body. There's research out there to back it up. For me personally, it's not my go-to approach, but there may be situations where I use that approach depending on the situation, on the client's belief system. It's adding some complexity to how I would structure and facilitate a session. I've seen some mind-blowing benefits from using a very simple approach to sound healing, and again, that's not to say that simple is less effective. Sometimes the less we do, the more effective a session is, especially when we're talking about getting people into a state of deep relaxation. But what is really comforting in a way is that there is a rationale behind it. We can see, and people are doing a lot more research to try and understand a bit more about sound vibration and frequencies and the body, and that hopefully may be a time one day when sound is a clinical intervention, when sound can be used to treat certain conditions. I don't think we're quite there yet, but it's a really promising and exciting area to think about. I hope you enjoyed the video. As always, it'd be really interesting to hear your comments on this. Do you use specific frequencies, and how do you use them, and what's your mindset and approach when you're using specific frequencies? If you'd like to share that, then please put it in the comments below and we can have a conversation about it. Please like and subscribe the videos. It really does help to get the content out to a wider audience. And also, if you subscribe, you'll hear of any future content that I put up. So thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.